Would you know how to get rid of your fear, phobia, stress or anxiety? How to burst your fear and transform your life? Welcome to Fearbuster Show, presented by Laure Rosenberg, fear and phobia relief expert and author of How to Move Forward When the Unthinkable Happens. You are listening to UK Health Radio, the world's #1 talk health radio with Laure Rosenberg. www.fear-busters.com.
Hi, welcome back to Fearbuster. It is Laure Rosenberg hosting the show today, and we have a special guest today, Sally, who's going to talk to us about her fear of going into public loos. Hi, Sally. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Hi.
and talking about your fear, because I'm not sure you actually even mentioned it to anybody before.
No.
So that's a big step.
Yeah, I have I've built a very strong facade of being the fearless person. So I definitely don't talk a lot about my fears, of which I have a few.
So, what are the few fears that you use?
Well, it's less bad now, but I used to have a crippling fear of the dark. I used to sleep with the light on up until about 3 years ago, actually. We were actually moving back from Indonesia to the UK. And before we moved, I thought, what am I going to do in the winter? It gets dark at 4 o'clock. I won't be like, how am I going to?
Yeah, especially in the UK.
Live there? Yeah, I won't be able to go anywhere. I won't be able to get back from somewhere. But that's not as bad now. I have a bit of a fear of heights.
So, as a fear expert, I'm interested in I'm hearing you. It's almost like the fear has moved into different areas, but because you said fear of loos, I mean, how did that start? How did that how did you even realize you've had that fear?
It just started when I moved back to the UK. I would go into like a pub loo or a bar loo, and especially if it was downstairs, it's just like a fear of being attacked in there, trapped in there. So I'd be in there, especially if I'm by myself, and if I would hear someone coming into the loo, I'd go into total like, who is it? I'm not going to be able to get out. No one will know I'm here.
And is that
really like triggered kind of PTSD response?
And how did that how have you been managing until now? I mean
I don't go to loo in places where I have to go particularly down into, like if you're in a restaurant, and I'm generally all right being in a loo on the same level.
Okay.
But going up or down, particularly
it's almost
down,
like you feel safer if it's on the same level because everybody's there in that.
Yeah.
So if you go, so it's more like isolated. If it's like going downstairs or upstairs, or and you said you mentioned you've been traveling. So on a plane, no problem.
No.
Okay. So it's not so much like public loo. It's very much where the toilet is actually positioned.
Yeah, I guess it's the feeling of isolation, and that I'm very, very vulnerable. Something could happen to me. Somebody's coming in. Someone's behind the door.
So when you've been, have you worked in offices, or where do you, did you have, or I don't know exactly what job you've done, because now you're working for yourself, but have you had places where, if it's an office, or if it's is that okay, or in a shop, or would that be?
I think if it's somewhere that I go regularly to a loo, then it's fine. I guess it's a new place. It's a feeling of disappearing, being taken, being attacked.
And so what's the feeling?
I've worked in hotels and things like that. So we've had our own loo. It's busier.
So that's fine. So if you're staying in a hotel, I was thinking, in the old times, I don't know if you ever heard, there's hotels where there was no ensuite. You had to go out and and at the end of the corridor, you had to
that would be my worst nightmare.
That was like many years ago, but that was like that would have been the worst nightmare for you.
Yeah,
They even
horrendous.
used to be flats that they didn't have any actually toilet, where there would be like communal toilets at the end of the corridor. So that would be really not for you. So
No.
what's the actual? How do you know that you're scared, or what's the actual symptoms? What happened?
I mean, I just go into like horror thoughts in my head. Someone's behind the door. Sometimes I'll be going for a wee and I'll put my foot against the door while I'm weeing. Or I'll throw the door open when I come out in case somebody's behind it.
So it's very much the sort of worrying about somebody attacking you. Because I worked on someone who was scared of toilets, but she would never lock the door. It would be different. It was like not locking the
being
door
trapped.
or being trapped. Yeah, it was more like or wanted to make sure that if the toilet had, like if you could see if there was a gap on the floor or there was a gap at the top, then she'll be able to use it. But and not locking it. Where in your case, it would be very much locking it and making sure.
Yeah, very much.
So this is more like a fear of. So the underlying fear is worry to be hurt. Is that?
Yeah, I guess probably similar to my fear of the dark, the unknown.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying at the beginning. What we're talking about. Sometimes children start also having fear of the dark. They want the light on, and if it's not dealt with as you grow up as an adult, that fear can turn into a different fear.
Sure.
Parents say, "Oh yes, fine, great. They've got rid of their fear of the dark. They're fine, or the fear of going upstairs." But then it just sort of moves in a different area, and that can happen. But do you have any idea, or do you have ever worked on it, or have you ever actually tried to get rid of it?
No, I guess I've just got on with it.
Or did you ever think that it's just part of you and nothing can be done?
I mean, I've trained doing hypnotherapy, so I could potentially do that on myself. I guess it's like a lot of things. Life is so busy, you get on with your life and you don't think about it until you're in the moment. And then when you're back in your normal life, you don't think about it again. So it doesn't, particularly now I work from home full time, it doesn't particularly affect my life.
It's not it's not, because it's not in a way so much. It's not like a priority. I mean, I worked with somebody who was scared of escalator, and that was in a way on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, of course.
It had to be we had to get rid of the fear. But it could be that. So I know that now you're working from home because it's probably because of COVID, and you also set up you already set up your own work at home. But do you have any idea, or do you have any idea why you're connecting it to the worry about being scared that somebody will attack you? Or
I mean, probably it comes from like quite specific past trauma, or so it's probably quite specific, and then it's just turned into something slightly different.
So I mean, you don't have to share with our listeners the things that you don't want to share, but you have images, or something specific that will remind you that if you go downstairs or upstairs where public loos not making you comfortable, that this as an image,
I'm
or a memory, or
there's a very specific memory. My ex husband was pretty violent, pretty awful, and he used to sometimes like break into the house in the night. So I think that's the association with darkness, with something potentially being behind the door. So it is very understandable, quite specific.
So have you ever sort of doing eye movement therapy? Do you know about? No,
I don't know about it.
So eye movement therapy is very like you think of an image, you bring up the image in your mind, and the feeling attached to it, and then as a practitioner, we get the eyes to move in different directions, not the head, just the eyes. And as you move the eyes in different directions, the image, if not everybody can do it, because you have to coordinate two things, but the majority of people can think of the image and the feeling, and not move their head, and then let the eyes following that line. So basically, there are different movements that we do, and by following that movement, you delete the image in the mind, or the image gets blur. Everybody has different experiences, but by doing that, you can release a whole trauma without having to talk about it, without even telling the practitioner what you've had.
Wow, that's amazing.
So I've used eye movement therapy with clients who've had severe physical trauma, and they didn't have to tell me their story, and I made them if they wanted to, because very often they're so used to having seen so many people, so many therapists, they sit down and they start talking about their story. But I very much say, look, I don't need to hear it. You know the story yourself.
Yeah.
But if there are unwanted images, and if there's no court case, then you can do eye movement therapy. And what you do is that you delete the images that create the fear and that are in the subconscious mind. And when the actual images are no longer in your field, in your mind, then the fear is no longer there. And then you can collapse that fear. So it's something that we could do. It turns out that now we actually sort of adjust it, and it's also something that one therapy that you can also do online, because before it was only just face to face, but because of COVID, we slightly sort of alternate a little bit, and it is working. I mean, I've been doing
amazing.
It, and I've been doing it even on children, and it's great, and it's just a way of. I think it's good for the listeners to know that you do not always have to talk about your past. You can just bring up the picture and having it deleted. You don't, and no one needs to know what it was. Practitioner doesn't even need to know. The therapist doesn't even need to know what it is. And I think it's a safe way to feel comfortable to release something.
Yeah.
And I know that I've helped someone who had to really traumatic stories, and physically, when she went back to the GP after we've cleared the images, her health got better too.
Wow.
Really. And then the doctor said, oh, it must have been just emotionally. But so it's something just for you to know, just that if you ever want to do that, that if you have traumatic images, as you mentioned, that someone was not nice to you and scared you, those are the type of things that can be done in a safe way, without having to go into details and without having to relive the event.
Brilliant.
I definitely like that sort of method that I use, but the fear of somebody attacking you, is that just in the toilet? You're only thinking about toilet? It's fine when you're at home, or do you have to check the doors, or do you have to?
I don't have to do any of that anymore. I used to, and it's almost just. I guess the fear has got smaller, and it's just been pushed into
like the fear
one
shrank.
space, which nothing's ever happened to me in that context.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I used to check everything. I used to live in, when we first moved back to London, we lived in horrendous temporary accommodation where there were only 2 washing machines for the whole block, and they were down in the basement. And it was I used to do the laundry once a week, and I used to take a huge knife, put it in the laundry bag. It was just so awful. I wouldn't do anything like that now. It's definitely been kind of compressed into something that's way more manageable, I suppose.
Yeah, so the fear, you've managed to work on yourself, and the fear has sort of shrank in certain ways. But hearing yourself, expressing yourself, is very much like going down. It's like isolating. It's not just like I wouldn't say, people say, oh, I've got fear of public toilets, but people will say public toilet, they will say any toilets, even if it's like, those portable toilets outside, they wouldn't go. This is more like the position, going down, going upstairs, isolated, feeling isolated, not feeling safe in that sense.
Sorry, I wasn't very specific about it. I hadn't really
it's fine.
thought about it.
No, it's because I'm looking into as a fear expert, so I'm sort of narrowing it down and trying to understand exactly, when you know exactly what is actually triggering the fear, it's easier to release it in that
Yeah,
sense.
that makes sense. Yeah.
So Sally, would you like to experience a little bit of help if you want?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
So try to tune in into, imagine that you were somewhere, and I don't know if there's a specific place that you can think of. Obviously, we just want you to still feel safe and not to go into too much. But
yeah, I was going to say I've got to go and take my son to the park afterwards, so I don't want to
no,
go
so
too deep
so what
into
we'd
trauma.
so just take something easy where you would be in a place where you would need to go, and it's downstairs or upstairs. Just a tiny
Yeah.
little thing. Don't, because this is not like, we're not doing a therapy session. We're just trying to shift a little something.
Yeah, sure.
So
I've
just
got somewhere.
Okay. So where do you feel that in your body?
Oh, in my kind of I don't know what that area is.
Yes.
Under my boobs, but above my belly button.
Okay. So stomach area.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you had to put a color to it, what color does it look like?
Orange.
Orange. And if you had to put a shape to it, what shape would that look like?
Triangular.
A triangular. So that orange triangle feeling in your stomach, what color could we actually use in order to get rid of it?
Blue.
Blue. Light blue?
Light
Dark
blue.
blue? Light blue.
Light. Yeah.
Okay. So with your permission, would that be okay just to take a deep breath, close your eyes, and send a nice blue down into your stomach, lifting, taking that orange triangle, or maybe making it a little bit smaller. Just remind yourself you're safe. You have that nice blue all around you. See that nice blue all the way down your spine, supporting you, telling you that you're never on your own. You always have that support of that nice blue right down behind you. Using all the sunshine also, feeling that warmth all along your back. And then allow that blue to go into your stomach, lifting and making that feeling a little bit lighter and lighter and lighter. So light and so soft, and just flow, and I'll just go wherever it needs to go. It may go up and it may make you yawn. It may go out to your fingers, to your feet. Just notice what that feel like, that orange triangle feeling in your stomach that is bringing that fear. And there you are. So the yawning is normal because we're actually unblocking the energy inside the body. So it has to come out somewhere, but in a good way. Whenever you're ready, you can take a deep breath and you can open your eyes, and then thank you for letting me do this on you. And Sally, just whatever you were thinking, we obviously don't want to go into big thing, but the same thing that you were thinking before, the same situation, what's that feel like now? What's that orange triangle feeling in your stomach now? Is it changed? Is it different? Is it the same?
Yeah, it feels really light. The only thing I can think of is when I do my meditation and you imagine like white light. It just feels, light, very light, fine.
Yeah.
Higher.
Higher is moving. Yeah. So that's what happened when someone has trauma. It could be physically, emotionally. The energy inside the body gets blocked, and we can unblock it in lots of different ways, lots of different modalities, energy modalities. And all I just did just now is just lifting it a little bit to allowing you to not carry that fear so much. And like you said, it was orange triangle stuck in the stomach. The stomach can store different emotions, and we're just doing it in a safe way. We're not mentioning the emotion. We're just doing a color just to make you feel safe. I also wanted to make you feel safer because I know that there is some big trauma behind that. So that's why I wanted to send your color into your spine and to your back.
Yeah, it was really powerful.
Yeah, I'm very intuitive. So whatever comes up in my mind that I can pick up into your own energy, I will adjust and do that. And I just felt that you needed it. It was just to say you needed that support. So this is something that obviously, if you wanted to get rid of your fear completely, we could go in and we will go in more. And obviously there's deeper things, and there are deeper things.
Yeah.
But I would love to. It's just nice to it's just nice to know that there are lots of different ways of getting rid of a fear in an easy way. You don't have, especially when you've gone through so, heavy trauma. Not everyone wants to talk about their story, and very much when you talk about a story, very much people can feel they're reliving it, because when something happened, the subconscious mind lives in the present time. So when it happened, even though you've grown, if you don't clear the images, or if you don't deal with what's going on in that image, it's still going to be in front of you, because the subconscious mind lives in the present time. So unless you restructure it, change the picture, or delete the picture, or the emotion around it, it's still going to be in front of you in that sense. So that's why it's important to not.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, that's why it's important to lift it and to not keep it. You mentioned meditation. That's brilliant. So you're already doing certain things.
I've done a lot of things to try and for me and my son, who both experienced a huge amount of trauma. We're unrecognizable today compared to how we were 5 years ago. So we do a lot.
Amazing.
We do a lot. We talk a lot. We communicate a lot. We move a
amazing
lot.
This is why it's so important to acknowledge emotions and trauma, and talking about it is one thing, but it's clearing the emotion that people are carrying that is the most important things. Emotion baggages are so heavy that if you don't lift them and don't change them, and if you don't get rid of them, it will catch up on.
And I know I still carry a lot. I think I sleep really well. I mean, I work really hard and I raise my son by myself, but I have levels of exhaustion that feel totally disproportionate to my life. And I know, I'm sure a lot of that is holding on to a lot of old trauma.
One of the things is, your mum, you're working, we're all busy, and sometimes we think that we can keep going because we just, we feel like we can keep going, and we forget that actually we need to be kind to our body, we need to be kind to ourselves, and sometimes it's okay to slow down, and it's okay to literally just take a deep breath and be kind to self, and not realizing that we are a human being, so we have emotions. Our body also needs to be looked after. There's we need to look into putting the right minerals. If you're tired, the body is trying to send a message and say, okay, well, maybe you need to take a little bit. Maybe you need to change something, or if something doesn't go well, it's like step back and say, okay, maybe I need to change something, or maybe I haven't got the right minerals in my body. Maybe I need to lift some of those emotions. So, but you've done so well, and I'm so impressed with how far you've gone by helping you and your son. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do? And
absolutely. I I'm the owner and founder of a business called Manners London, which is an inclusive fashion label for women of all shapes and sizes. I started it actually kind of accidentally. Me and my son had to flee where we were before because it was very unsafe. And I landed in London 5 years ago with about 15 items of clothing, which I'd made for myself. I was living in Bali prior to that, and was about 15 dress sizes bigger than anything in any shops in Bali. So I started designing a few pieces for myself, landed in London and had no money, nowhere to live, and went to Portobello Road on kind of the second day of being in the UK with my box of clothes only in my size, medium size tops, large size bottoms, and managed to hustle a market stall there. And since then, for the last 5 years, I've been growing it. I'm about to open distribution center in America. Business is going really well. We are, thriving, rising, getting happier.
Excellent.
Life is good. We were in temporary accommodation for 4 years, and we've just moved to Bristol into a lovely house with loads of room and a garden. And so it's been a huge, long journey. And I make these amazing clothes. I use this stretch fabric, which doesn't really exist anywhere else.
Excellent.
It's really thick, and the whole idea is that it's more than just it's sisterhood, it's community, it's this amazing thick fabric. So whether you've got the heaviest boobs, the tiniest bum, the biggest bum, big tummy, whatever. It's just holds you, supports you, but not in a kind of uncomfortable Spanx kind of way.
Excellent.
My USB is to burn your bras, free your body, be kind to your body. So yeah, I love it. It's brilliant fun. I have amazing customers. I have a really beautiful community of women that's
Excellent.
growing and growing internationally and all over the world. So yeah, life is really good.
So, and have you ever done like boosting your confidence, or have you done like working on any of those things? Like, because obviously you've had to deal with a lot of trauma and fear. Have you ever worked on that to get to where you are? Or
yeah, I mean, it's been a non-stop journey. I think a lot of the reason why I started my business is because I spent years with a man who completely crushed me. I was fat, I was ugly, I was useless, I was not a good mother. So a lot of what I put into what I do is so much of trying to reinforce to other women that they are good enough. I have a lot of single parent customers, and it's my journey as much as theirs. So yeah, a lot of work.
It is and I think that's one of the things that people don't realize, or is they're about to realize now more and more, because especially with the pandemic too, and things are happening and lots of changes, that it's a journey. Even clearing a fear doesn't mean that you don't have anything else to clear. Doesn't mean that you don't have. It's a journey. We have different stages in our life, and we always need to work on ourselves, and we always need to also have some support. I think it's also because
Absolutely.
when you're in the problem, you don't actually see it sometimes. So it's very much good. It's really important to listen to what your friends or your family are also saying, and to understand there's nothing wrong with you if you go and see someone just to give you some help.
Of course, me and my son have had family therapy.
Exactly. There's no. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It just means that you want to get to a much better place. It means that you're actually willing to work on yourself in order
Absolutely.
to achieve and move on and actually reach something higher. A lot of people think, they go and see someone because there's a problem. It's never a problem. It's just a challenge. And and you've turned your own story and you used it, and you use all the strengths about it. You build your resilience, but you turn
Absolutely.
to, and a lot of us out there have done that, and in a way, everything that happened to you has made you who you are now, and that's why you have that drive to actually carry on and doing this business and
absolutely
help other ladies, and as much as you wouldn't wish what happened to you to anyone, like I wouldn't wish anything that happened to me either to anyone, but it sort of made us in
absolutely
a way, and it's lifting, and it's showing that whatever people are in their journey and whatever fear they have, it's important to know that you can always shift it. And
I think there's a culture where we have so much, we're so obsessed with looking after our bodies, but actually what gets left is looking after our minds, our energy, our emotional well-being. Although I think there's a really exciting shift where the younger generation are putting their emotional needs as a priority, not just their physical appearance, but actually
I think they do, and they're going to need to do even more, because now with all the changes, all the way of behaving is so unnatural, and so that you can't live in fear. You're going to have to adapt and work on emotions, and it's one of the things that they don't teach in school yet, and I'm hoping that one day they will.
Well, I've taken my son out of school full time, so I can teach him.
I was going to say, what made you make that big decision?
Oh, a lot of things. He's actually always wanted to be homeschooled, and he had a big loss in his life last year, and his mental health just crashed and he just wasn't supported at all. He is a young mixed race male who is incredibly sensitive, but physically is like a 15-year-old. He's strong, he's articulate. And at school, he was being treated like a teenager when he was just a little boy who really needed to be cared for with a lot of gentleness, which he wasn't receiving. So the pandemic was an amazing opportunity for us to try if we could coexist at home, which I didn't think in a million years we could. And actually, it turns out that a lot of the reason why we were struggling to get along at home was because he was so miserable at school, that his behaviour and his moods were so
That's
difficult.
very interesting that you're saying this, because unfortunately school is not for everyone, and you can, school can have a negative side of it. Yes, socializing is good, and there are lots of good things.
Yeah, he still socializes.
But the thing is, you can be bullied, and it can have a big negative impact too. And yes, and I'm 100% sure that lots of kids, when there was a lockdown, were happy to be at home, because
suicide rates went down, anxiety levels went down.
Yeah.
I mean, I also acknowledge that I'm in a place of extreme privilege, that I've managed to carve out a living for myself, which I can do from home, which I know is a lot of people don't have that opportunity to be able to take their kids out of school. So I guess I just want to acknowledge that it's not that easy for people to do.
So do you do all the teaching, or you put some teachers in place online?
No, so we have some kind of group teaching on Zoom, but also a lot of what we do as unschooling is just really peeling back all of the schoolishness and really creating a new way of living, and actually just putting his happiness and his mental health at the absolute core of everything, and being creative and doing things he really loves, as long as he can read and write and do some maths. It's an ever evolving thing, and some weeks I go, I'm some weeks
you just got to adapt.
Fantastic.
But this is why I created a class for children, for mental health, and once a week, kids at 5 o'clock can join my class, and it's 20 minutes literally of working energy work to lift and whatever's going on, and to actually give them the positive energy that they need. So and since pandemic, that's why I created. I wanted to make sure that anyone could have access to help and therapy, and kids are like sleeping better, concentrating better, their confidence is.
I'd be really interested for you to send me some info on that.
It's amazing, because it's only 20 minutes, because I used to do a little longer, but they were so relaxed that they actually would drop and fall asleep. It was so hard to keep them going.
Yeah,
it's 20 minutes, really intense, but lots of parents are finding the benefits of it, and there's great benefits. They have less anger, they're sleeping better, their confidence is boosting, the teachers are noticing they're focusing so much better.
Brilliant.
And this is what I created during the pandemic, because I know that therapy can be really expensive, and kids, you don't
so much stuff is not accessible, and that's what's been really sad about taking my son out of school. Actually, people go, he's on this course, it's really cheap, and it's 100, 200 pounds a week, and it's really sad that people aren't offering these services with at least a sliding scale, so they're actually accessible for people who often need to access it more than anyone.
So I charge £6 for or if they book for 4 sessions, it worked out £5 each session. But this is like, the value of it is worth so much more, and it's not so much the time that we do, is because it's so intense and it's 20 minutes, but the results, I've noticed that after doing it 4 times, like over 4 weeks, I get parents telling me what my child is completely different, and
amazing.
This is what I really like, and it's really important. But I want to thank you for sharing this fear. We know is underlining there's much more to it. And I'm sure it's not easy when you go out, and I mean, now I know there's not much like nighttime life, because at the moment it's all
not at all.
Going out in the evening and needing to go to the toilet and you can't, because that is not the best. it makes you deciding, do I want to go out or do I not want to go out? It makes you thinking differently. So that's another way of thinking. But obviously the pandemic has a good side of it for you. You're staying at home, you're working from home.
Yeah. I mean, I've been a single parent, a solo parent for 10 years, so my nightlife has been pretty non-existent for a very long time.
So if you ever want to go deeper and try and clear things, then you can always get in touch with me.
Brilliant, thank you.
I just want to thank you so much, Sally, today for sharing that fear. That I'm amazed that you actually never even told anyone. So we're very privileged that you're actually happy to talk about it on air. And just the last thing, do you have a website where
yes, I do.
Check out your lovely clothes?
My website is manners, www.manners, MANNERS, LDN for London.com. And my Instagram, which is great, if I say so myself, is at Manners London, LONDON. So you can find me there.
Excellent. So this was Sally talking about fear of public toilets. Thank you so much for listening. This is Fearbuster Lauren Rosenberg. If you need my help, please get in touch with me, and I will. You can either go on my website or you can join any of my online classes. Looking forward to seeing you next week, talking about another unusual fear. Have a good day.